Relax and take notes while I take tokes of marijuana smoke. Learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. Creativity is inventing, experimenting, growing, taking risks, breaking rules, making mistakes, and having fun. Break open the mind and let the Imaginarium leak out. Break open the mind and let the Imaginarium leak out. Relax and take notes while I take tokes of marijuana smoke. Break open the mind and let the imagination run free. Creativity is inventing, experimenting, growing, taking risks, breaking the rules, and making mistakes and having fun. It's time to break open the mind and let the imagination run wild.
And then
Break open the mind and let the Imaginarium leak out. Attention is not a thought, or an object, or a wish. It's the Tao. Attention is what can make a being succeed when their thoughts tell them that they have been defeated. Attention is what sends the shaman through a wall, through space, through time, to the infinite. Attention is what sends the shaman through a wall, through space, to infinity.
like awkward, reading into every movement and look and gaze and touch and overthinking every aspect of it.
Let me take you where Einstein's theory of relativity and Tesla's electronic engine came from. We all have in us the same connection. Because if ideas are networks, then there are deep network connections. Ideas pushing and pulling us together. It's not that the ideas belong to us, but rather we belong to the ideas. Now ideas are networks. Dreams code reality, and I code reality with my dreams. I'm looking at lyricism as coding. I'm looking for an algorithm. I'm looking to streamline ideas and being able to express them in ways that speak directly to the core and the essence of something that we already know, and that we already are, and that we're already connected to. I just titled this episode, or this, kept on telling Kevin and Cartman one, that we're having a super secret show, and we're having the return of Govspiders. And so I labeled this one, The Mind's Underground. And I've been thinking about kind of, the early days of Minds, the old school class of 2015, and how kind of cool that moment of time was,
I've been reflecting on that a lot too. I just wrote a really long post about being a co-creator and put it up, really kind of just reminiscing about the evolution we've watched at Minds, that we've watched, with social media for us as an alternative, and where we hope, Minds as a platform will go with people being involved and, hopefully creating more interesting stuff and being part of this evolution of constructive creative commons and, building, especially going into crypto, building really good relationships with good quality content providers.
Yeah, I'm at a point in my life where I still talk to people on the daily outside of the internet about Minds, and I sort of have to be a little bit secretive about it until today I'm actually revealing myself. But I still talk to a lot of people about it, about what it stands for. I still hold a lot of those values that we had way early on when things were, great, our golden age. But there are so many other platforms and so many different technologies all going on at once. I'm just still waiting for the dust to settle to see what's gonna be the thing that everyone goes to. It's been either Minds or Gab has been doing well. A lot of people still use Medium. Minds, I don't know if you guys got the email from Minds about the crypto release, but they took basically a log of how many points everyone has, and I guess they're planning on crediting everyone in the new Minds crypto whenever it comes out, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I read that blog. It'll be interesting to read the white paper and how they figured that out,
Yeah, I was when I wrote that co-creator sort of blog post thing, I'd sort of hit in the comment section there, like hoping that they would disclose what that meant for our Minds community. So people, like, there's just this huge sort of sharing economy kind of thing where people are giving merit to new users and to people that are putting, you know, relevant content out and sharing points on a level that I'd never seen before. It seems pretty recent in the last 4 to 6 months where people have been stepping up and, you know, being thankful for points and sending points. And I just wanted to make sure that we kept that flow going and that this new crypto revolution wouldn't turn into some sort of a hoarding thing, because it would be great to have people be boosting, you know, the content that is inspiring. You know, you write something great, you should boost it for somebody else, or, you know, participate on that level. That's what we're here for, I think, anyway.
Well, I know definitely before people were hoarding the points, and I remember the early discussions about all that. Just kind of funny.
Well, yeah, we've always kind of commented on the exploitability of Minds and people holding on to, you know, as many points as they could early on because they thought they'd be worth something. But rather than holding value, it's more being turned into a functional currency. It's going to be used for your boost, for your virality. It's going to be used for getting access to certain people's content that, you know, you might not have access to otherwise. Kind of like the whole reward system, which hopefully will get more and more intricate. But it sort of reminds me of, I tried to show Satori last week. There's a new platform called Library, where it's basically a YouTube alternative hosted on a blockchain. And you can mine for tokens, or you can perform certain activities for tokens, but then you spend those tokens, that crypto, to view content. So I can, you know, have a free video up, but I can also charge like 0.0000 whatever of a token for you to view this video. And so it amounts to almost nothing, but you're still getting profit for your views without any sort of ad network or monetization services other than just peer-to-peer crypto exchange for content, which I think is a good feature to move forward, to move towards for like all of these different platforms, including Minds.
Yeah, kind of to quantify the kind of the attention economy of, like, I think that's kind of why Minds was using the points as like a snapshot of your activity to weigh it into what tokens you're going to get for the initial set off. It still will be interesting to see how exactly they have that all worked out in the white paper.
And I'm really curious, you know, with the YouTube exodus, it's huge. They're demonetizing so much content, Dan. I know they're after your content now. And I looked at a few alternatives, YouTube and some of the other things, and it looks like they've got good functionality, but I just wasn't sure what the upgrade was for Minds to get it to that operable level for the download and upload. I guess the upload process to be viable. I know right now the upload times can be really challenging and the length of content is really limited. Do you know more about that, Gov?
Sorry, as far as the upload times, I know that it definitely takes forever for me to upload anything, and sometimes I've had problems with it actually going through properly, or certain formats that I've uploaded a video in will just fail completely and I'll have to like put it into a different format. I know that the cool thing that I liked that we were talking about a long time ago when we had talks with Bill and John, where whenever we were talking about being distributed or decentralized, having a way that we could all help host the network or host certain pieces of the network, or I could potentially help you host your videos so that it promotes entropy in the network. That's always something I've seen as crucial to these technologies, whether it's Minds or not. Getting to a state that we can have distribution, but also entropy based on the amount of attention something gets.
Do you think, Gov, that as a potential mining facet, Minds.com's cryptocurrency could do resource sharing on that level? That basically they use advertising dollars from large retailers to expose products but they therefore use resource integration as your own, smartphone or laptop. Do you see that as a potential for the Minds crypto white paper?
Definitely as a potential. I mean, there are so many things that we can hope that will come from this, but also we haven't seen the white paper. It's kind of concerning to me that it is a little shrouded in mystery what's going on with that, because originally it was something that we were all proposing together and piecing together little bits of, and we're going to work on it. And I didn't really ever see what happened to that or what stage it was in, and it just kind of drifted away, and now it's come back up as something that is imminent. So I'm not too sure of the details behind the scenes right now.
Yeah, it was almost a year ago when we had the Minds coin. I think it's probably like 8 months ago when we had that show. And it made it seem like, okay, Bill's going to show us like the rough draft of the white paper and have our input of what it is. And it never happened. I still don't even fully know who was working on it or anything. So that's why I'll be interested to read it and see. But I think just from me thinking, brainstorming in my own mind, I think there's a big hurdle for what the ideal of what we're talking about is some kind of like mesh network, decentralizing and having this kind of shared processing of the flow of data and attention. I think, trying to engineer that after the fact that there's already in place network seems like a Herculean task. But that's why I'm wondering what exactly is this token, because if it's just like a token like the ones you could just manufacture from an app that is kind of just a symbol and like tied to no kind of like true value or proof of work or proof of process or whatever, like all that kind of like technical stuff really at the end of the day means something, and I mean for most people, the average user, it doesn't make a difference whether that technical aspect. But I think for people that want to co-create, that want to invest in it, it does make a big difference. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and not necessarily Minds itself, but this whole Cory Doctorow, I forgot exactly what his phrase was.
So, I'm a writer and a technologist, which means that I have to be in favor of metaphors. I can't really dislike them. But I want to talk today about some of the problems of metaphors, because as useful as they are, they really have the power to mislead us and get us into trouble. This is not a trash can. You can drag files, which aren't files, in folders, which aren't folders, into this trash can, which isn't a trash can, and empty it, which doesn't empty it. Because after you empty it, the files aren't gone, because this isn't a trash can and those weren't files. So when you delete secretplan.doc by dragging it into the trash, your computer just erases the entry for it in the catalog of its file system, so anyone knows how to look for it can find it later, as innumerable criminal suspects have discovered when the cops seize their computers and bring them into a forensics lab. So you can call this metaphor debt. Metaphors extend credit to us in the form of these easy-to-grasp abstractions that let us work with complicated ideas, but then they take interest from us in the form of the shear between these useful handles and what's actually going on in the underlying technical reality. And metaphor debt can be very toxic because you never get a term sheet for it. You never know exactly how much that metaphor debt is going to cost you in the long run. And this is a particular problem in tech, because in tech, we deal strictly in metaphors. We operate in bits that are abstracted to bytes, and the bytes are abstracted to operators, which are abstracted to high-level programming languages, which are abstracted to GUIs, which are abstracted to fat-fingered presses on capacitive screens. The response to this was to pass a law called the DMCA in 1998 that enshrined metaphor debt into law. The DMCA stands for the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, and it has this section 1201 that makes it a felony, again, to bypass an effective means of access control for a copyrighted work. Now, the purpose of this odd bit of jargon is to ensure that you couldn't tell your Turing-complete von Neumann architecture computer, capable of executing any instruction we can express in symbolic logic, to execute instructions that pissed off the manufacturer. Now, here's how that works. We're going to do a little bit of cryptography 101. In cryptography 101, we have this idea that there are three parties in the simplest case. There's Alice and Bob and Carol. And Alice and Bob, they know and like each other and trust each other, and Carol is evil and wants to spy on them. So Alice and Bob, they send a message to one another, and they make some assumptions about what Carol can do with that message. The first thing they assume is that Carol knows that the message exists and can get a copy of it. This is a smart assumption in the 21st century because so many of the networks that we use have people that we might think of as our adversaries on them. Maybe Carol is sharing the same Wi-Fi segment as them. Maybe Carol is a hostile government that's suborned their phone company. Maybe it's an unethical employee at the phone company. Or maybe Carol just happens to be on the same continent as them, and one segment of their communication traverses a satellite link that has a footprint as large as a whole continent. Assuming Carol can't get a copy of your message is a fool's paradise, because in many cases, people we don't trust can get a copy of our scrambled messages. They also assume that Carol knows how they scrambled the message, what algorithm they used, what math they used. And the reason for that is that the only way we know how to test a security system is the way that we know how to make any kind of reliable knowledge, which is to subject it to adversarial peer review, to tell people what you think you know and allow third parties, especially people who don't like you, to point out your dumb mistakes. The difference between science and alchemy is peer review, right? That, you know, alchemists kept what they knew a secret for 500 years. They didn't advance the art very much, and each of them learned in the hardest way possible that drinking mercury was a bad idea. And the only alchemical thing that alchemists ever did was to start publishing what they thought they knew, and then they converted the base metal of superstition into the precious metal of science, of knowledge. And so in security, you publish your algorithm so that you can have all of your adversaries tell you about your dumb mistakes.
In our stories and our symbols that we use, of how we talk about the internet, how we talk about technology, and what it actually is and what it actually does. And just recently too, in that thing I've been sharing with you, Govspiders, Mark Pesce wrote this article called The Last Days of Reality. And in it, he talks a little bit about this too, and it was actually in the podcast he was talking about it, about how when someone says algorithm, right? I don't think people fully understand what it actually means. They think it's like this some mysterious, omnipresent AI, when actually, you know, the nuts and bolts of it is built upon simple principles of how things get filtered, how things get pushed in feeds. And Facebook says, oh, we want to, this is the deficit of the narrative, the deficit of the symbols they use. Oh, your friends, you like this content and everything, we want to connect you to your friends, and you have this platform where you could raise your voice and connect with people all over the world, and we're holding our hands, and we're transforming government and society, when it actually is, with the actual reality of it is they really want to connect you to advertisement. They really want to connect you to buy stuff. They want to sell your data and all this kind of stuff. So there's a big deficit in what is said, what words are used, and what actually it is. And that kind of goes to that deeper thing of the last days of reality.
Well, and as far as Facebook goes and the statement you made about algorithms, to sort of quote Einstein, if you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it well enough. And so with these massive algorithms, these intense AI that everyone is so overwhelmed by, that they just think, okay, well, I'm never going to understand that. Facebook, go ahead and do what you're going to do. I'm just going to use the platform. Well, if Facebook is going to use something, they should have people that understand it. They definitely do. So they should, if they're transparent, take the time to elaborate what they're doing, because people will feel safer that way. If you're going to build a profile about me and try to suggest things that you think that I like to improve my experience and to also gain ad revenue, tell me so. I mean, it doesn't really sound that awful to the normal person, like the average person. even when you explain that to them in detail, they're like, so Facebook has to make money. But once you understand the implications of them actually building a profile, creating all of these assumptions on you, and then actually feeding that to government entities and all of that, that's when it becomes a little more sinister. But yeah, for sure, as far as that part about AI, people just are going to continuously just not want to grasp it. With all of these advanced technologies, it's beyond their reach. So they're not going to worry about it. They're just going to let it be a part of their lives because it simplifies things.
Part of the act of discovery lies in the innocence of discovering in itself. If you have some sort of a mentor program that leads you to certain information, kind of defeats the purpose of fundamental curiosity. So I put 3 or 4 different articles and notes up about how money in little ways allows these profile builds to expose them to what they call shadow posting, or that the post literally only appears for that person and only for while they're scrolling through the timeline, and it's targeted to affect opinion and to affect your feelings, your emotions towards an idea. And realistically, if an organized form can answer these questions about you in personality traits, and I mean they were very specific as what your proclivities were and what you would wind up being interested in doing, depending on the fundamental things they could discern from your behavior while you were using the platform. And with the information sharing between Google search and Facebook, it gets pretty all-inclusive, considering the only place we can find out anything that's true is on the internet. It literally is not from the mainstream media system anymore. So it, to me, is a little scary, but for the most part, it just makes me appreciate being on Minds more, and hopes that, the open source, what I consider uncensored path, will become so valuable that we'll really I think we're going to hit a really massive uptick in usership, especially when the crypto message gets out.
Kind of going more on to this whole thing, there's this app. It's called Ad Nauseum, and what it does is, so it runs in the background, and as you're surfing around, it kind of clicks on everything. So when they're building the profile of you, right, they have everything. It's not curated. So the information that they draw from your profile, from your IP, is that you like everything, that you're clicking on everything and you're watching everything. So they can't build a profile on you. It's kind of a simple but clever way to disrupt your profile of you. I just thought I'll share it right now because it just made me think of that.
That actually sounds a lot more effective than blocking out ads and still being tracked on the very specific things that you click on. Is just having something that clicks on absolutely everything all the time, and then everyone does that absolutely on everything all the time, building up all kinds of bandwidth charges for them for no reason, and they're not gaining any valuable material. So
they think they're getting all this valuable information, and when they go filter it, it's just a bunch of white noise. It's really a kind of clever idea. It actually it got banned from the App Store. They didn't particularly like it.
development of self, certain substance with a stealth. Senseless stanza to perform, but I'm never seeking wealth. Gross cost of opportunity, concealed in these parentheses. I know the road I've walked and I see what lies ahead of me. Push on with the passion, don't succumb to the struggle. Persistent, everlasting, not your ordinary muggle. I might pull up into purgatory, organizing huddles. When it comes to this monotony, I'm the one that splashes puddles. Got it short, life can change in an instant. The power's yours to change, if not then whose is it? You can grow this life to soar, or linger in the shade. You can advance this life for more, or only live to get paid. Gratuitous gain, for a destiny that's vain, or a virtuous mind to advance our humankind. Red pill or blue, which choice is yours to take? Just avoid a wasted effort, looking back on your mistake. Linear time moves forward, there's no going back. Keep an eye on karma, and the presence you attract. You control these mental struggles, that's a well-disputed fact. In the grand scheme of life, man's a feeble fossil act.